Can you share now?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, so good evening, everyone. So, this is the second workshop about people first cities, which is designing better cities for humans. So, today we will explore more how to create cities that truly work for everyone and not just vehicles. Like, cities should work for both people and vehicles. So, like, anyone who was present in the last class workshop as well, do you remember what we learned in the last workshop? Yeah. So basically, in the last workshop, we learned about STEM behind urban planning and how STEM concepts are applied to create better everyday lives and urban planning. So, who are cities really designed for? So, most cities today have wide roads, fast lanes, traffic signals that prioritize cars over people. And what we experience are narrow pavement, unsafe crossings, and long waiting lines and poor lighting. So, most of us experience cities every day but rarely question their design. We accept unsafe crowdings, crowded areas, and streets that feel hostile to strangers, but cities are designed and they can be redesigned to work better for everyone. So, like in this activity, you can become a city detective. First, spot the problems. Where do you feel unsafe walking, broken roads, no pavements, dark streets at night? And then share your story. You can raise your hand and tell us about one place near your home or school that feels difficult to navigate. And the third one is draw it out. If you guys have a pen or paper, you can like fast sketcher before to after redesign street and what makes it challenging, who struggles the most. So anyone who would like to try this activity? Yeah, you guys can raise your hand if you like to try. Okay, it's fine. We can move on to the next slide. So, a day in their life, so we can experience the city through different eyes. So, there's scenario one, a girl walking home at night. So, it's 8:30 p.m. She's returning home after tuition classes, and the street lights are dim, the cars move fast, and there's no proper footpaths, and she keeps checking behind her while walking. So, what are the challenges they face? So, challenges they face are poor street lighting, unsafe or empty streets, lack of sidewalks, fear of harassment, few public spaces, and no emergency help nearby. So the question is, would this affect her daily life and confidence and freedom? So there's a design thinking prompt we can use to better the streets for her. Like what changes would make her feel better? So there could be better lighting, CCTV and emergency booths, more crossing, active public spaces, and wider footpaths. Now, the second scenario is a wheelchair user. Suppose a person wants to travel only 500 sorry, person wants to travel only 500 meters to a nearby store, but the sidewalks are broken, the ramps are missing, and vehicles block pathways. So, mainly in Indian cities, we don't see ramps and pathways built for wheelchair users or disabled people. So, they face a lot of challenges like broken or uneven pathways, no ramps at crossing, stairs everywhere, so they cannot move around, blocked sidewalks, difficult public transport access, unsafe road crossing, and lack of inclusive design. So the question is, can a city truly be called public if everyone cannot use it equally? So there's a design thinking prompt. So what would an inclusive street look like? So there could be ramps everywhere. That could be tactile paving for them. And there could be smooth sidewalks, lower curbs and wider pathways and also accessible buses. Now, the third scenario is a delivery person. Suppose he spends 10 to 12 hours on the day, every day, on the road delivering food and packages. Traffic, heat, unsafe roads, and time pressure are part of his daily routine. So, challenges that all delivery workers face are dangerous traffic conditions, pressure to deliver quickly, heat and pollution exposure, no safe resting areas, lack of public toilets, unsafe parking spaces, and risk of accident. So, what small changes could improve their daily experience? Unlike cities, depend on workers like them every day, but our cities truly designed for them. So, there could be dedicated bike lanes for them. There could be resting shelters. There could be better shade and greenery to control the urban heat, and there could be drinking water points on the roads as well. Now, so people for cities begin with empathy. A city is not just roads and buildings, it is an experience shaped by safety, accessibility, comfort, and dignity. So, if you could redesign one part of your city for one person we discussed, what would it be? Like you can add more changes to it and give more solutions. If anybody would like to answer. Yeah, you can go ahead, Sejal.
Thank you. As you shared earlier, that one thing that I would definitely improve is of inclusive roads and cities, because as I am currently doing a fellowship, so where we are getting an exposure of a lot of social sectors and the organizations that we are working for. So whenever we have a meeting with them, one thing that they do share, that how it becomes inaccessible for people with disability to even travel, even if they get the job opportunities. How do they travel? Because at a lot of places there are just stairs, and then it becomes more difficult to reconstruct the uh, paths or lanes that will be inclusive. So more inclusive uh, path pathways and roads.
Okay, yeah, that's a great solution, and great that it's you thought about them. Yeah, Lakshmi, you can also go ahead with your idea.
Yes. Am I audible? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yes. So we can design a footpath. Like, most of the time we have a footpath, but the car, like bike and cycle, usually ride from there. So we can design a footpath which not allow a bike or car to go on that. Like, I know some organization who working on that. So they will put things in that which not allow that bike, cycle, other types of vehicle to go on, like walk on that ride, and people are safe to walk on that place on the footpath.
Yes, that is a good answer, Lakshmi. I think Archita got disconnected. I'll just ask her if her internet's fine and get back. Just 2 minutes. Archita got disconnected. She's joining again. Archita, is your internet fine now?
Sorry, I got
Sorry, I
this.
got It's fine. You can share screen again and start.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll give examples of two cities. I'll take the first example for Mumbai, who has been currently facing many issues, and the second would be Pune, who is redesigning streets for people and innovating new ideas. So, Mumbai, it is a city that never stops, but is it designed for people? So, we face traffic congestion in Mumbai, there's overcrowded places, and it's difficult to commute from one place to another. Then we face walkability issues like there are no proper crossings for pedestrians, and the when we often see two-wheelers on footpaths, and then the people are forced to walk on roads. And then there's all the flooding and infrastructure stress which leads to urban issues. And there's also overcrowded public transport, and there's lack of public spaces for us to enjoy, relax, and sit in a place. So we can think like a city designer and look for solutions for people first Mumbai. So first is better and wider footpaths for all so that there is tactile paving for visually impaired, and then footpaths free from encroachment. And then the second one is safe crossings and pedestrian priority. There would be more zebra crossings and signalized junctions, shorter crossing distances. And then the third one would be improved public transport experience, more local train coaches and better frequency, clean, safe, and accessible stations, last mile connectivity with e-buses. And then you could also reduce traffic congestion with dedicated bus lanes, better traffic management using technology, and then also prepare for flood resilient streets by better drainage systems, rainwater harvesting, and permeable pavements. And there could be also more public spaces for people, create more parks, plazas, and open spaces for street vendors and communities, etc. Now, Pune is a city which is reimagining streets for people. So there is dedicated cycling lanes. So there's cycling infrastructure that's being developed. There's better public streets. There's sustainable urban planning, and there's more shade and greenery around to protect the environment as well. Now, other cities can build people's first cities while taking learnings from Pune. For example, Ahmedabad can transform from congested streets to caring streets. They can build a connected cycling network for daily commuters, widen footpaths, ensure smooth and accessible walking, create vibrant public spaces along riverfronts and streets, strengthen public transport and last mile connectivity. And then second would be Chandigarh, that could transform from an already well planned city to a people first city, promote cycling with safe lanes and bike sharing, make streets more walkable and accessible, activate public spaces for communities, and improve feeder services to public transport. And the third would be Hyderabad, that could transfer from rapid industry growth to sustainable growth. They could be introducing cycling infrastructure like again, and then create safe shade protected walkways, develop and maintain more green public spaces, and plan integrated public transport and last mile solutions. So when we design cities for people, cities become better for everyone. Now there are some real life examples. So in school intersection, there's busy roads during pickup and drop times, which makes it unsafe for children to cross on roads. And then during in market roads, there's traffic congestion and pedestrians and work vehicles competing for space. And at bus stop congestions, waiting areas are blocked by vehicles and poor facilities. So you can give an example around your own city, like where do these problems occur the most, and the one problem that you face daily. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you. So I live in a chawl. Outside that, opposite to the gate, there is this road which is two-way. But the road is like very short, breadth-wise, so it becomes very difficult. So now there is this daily uh, there is this public transport bus which is like from this is the main stop, the place where I live is the main stop till the station. So it becomes very congested. The buses are also very congested in the evening, and there are long queues for a share taxi. And then the bus stops on a road like on which there are permanent like it is running road where there are a lot of cars, a lot of bikes. So whenever the bus stops, it creates a long traffic, which becomes very noisy and dangerous for us to cross the road. So now they have put a barricade because a lot of times the cars and the bikes take turns, which creates another huge problem of traffic. But now people move those barricades and take turns, so it becomes extremely unsafe to cross the road. If there is a child, then they like it becomes very high prone accident area kind of place. Yeah.
Yeah, so there should be better traffic management and also separate crossings for pedestrians, right?
Yes, please.
Now, there's a concept called a 15-minute city, which is designing neighborhoods around people. So, what if everything you needed was just 15 minutes away? A city where schools, parks, shops, hospitals, workplaces, and public spaces are close enough to reach easily by walking, cycling, or public transport. Like you can see in the second image, there are all the facilities available 15 minutes away from the home. So, like, you guys can give an example, like one place that you want to travel daily or like frequently, but it is very far from you and it is difficult to commute to that place. Okay, it's fine. We can go ahead. So for the design thinking activities, like if you are guys interested, we can choose one location and one persona, like one person in the street you would like to redesign the street for. For example, a school crossing, maybe a market street or a neighborhood road, like around your city. And then you can sketch it out if you guys have a pen or paper, like a quick sketch, or you can just tell me verbally and present your solution in 5 minutes. If you guys want, I can also give you the persona by myself. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you. So the problem that I was sharing earlier, I think I would like to present a solution for the same. So now there are three bus stops which are very in walkable distance. So within 5 minutes, these bus stops are there. So my solution would be reducing one stop where the lane gets very narrow. So removing that stop from there and just keeping two stops would be helpful, and it will help in better traffic management as well. Since there is a college nearby, there is a school as well. So there are a lot of children who cross the road. So yes, that's what I have as a solution.
That's a great solution to your problem. Thank you for answering.
Thank you.
And Lakshmi, you can also go ahead with your solution.
Yes, ma'am. So like problem is that my area there is a bhaji market, and youth vendors are sell their vegetable on the floor, and most of the time like car tempos are go away. People face the difficulty, even the vendors face the difficulty. Expand that road and make it a way, and also provide the proper shop system, like proper shop type things to vendors, so they can put their also draw a line proper where can people stand and buy the vegetable, and where the tractor or car can go.
Okay, that's also a great solution. Your problem. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. This is the end. Do you guys have any other questions? You can go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm asking this question out of curiosity. Where did you learn this design thinking course of urban planning?
So it is out of interest, like learning online. I didn't have any proper workshops or anything for the course. It's like by learning myself.
Okay, wow. Thank you.
And thank you.
So if anyone else doesn't have any questions, then we can go ahead with the next presentation. Thank you, Archita. Arnav, are you there?
And
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you can share screen and start.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Arnavv, and today I'm going to be talking about the relationship between chess and STEM, and basically how they're really correlated in terms of how you think. So let's start with a situation. Let's say you're in a robotics final, like a robotics competition, and you have different issues. Like the first issue is that your motor stops working, and then the other issue is that your battery is overheating, your code is like about to fail, and you only have time to fix one issue. What would you fix if you had like 10 minutes left before the final presentation? What would you prioritize and fix, if anyone can tell me? It's all right, you can guess. Yeah, sure, you can go ahead.
I think I would go ahead with option B or D, replace overheating battery, since there can be blast because of overheated battery.
All right. Yep, that makes sense. Um, So, as she said, like it really depends on the situation. There's no really like right or wrong answer. So, depending on the situation, the options really vary because let's say without a motor, your entire thing's not going to work. But then, as she said, which was completely right also, an overheating battery could blast, and that's of course like a safety concern. So, what this teaches us is that like what really drives your decision, it really depends on the situation. It's more about like short term or long term, or it depends on the information that you wanted to share. So, this is exactly how engineers, data scientists, economists, and military strategists think too. They analyze the entire situation before making a decision, and that really drives their decision. So let's take this like case study kind of story example. So let's talk about the Mars landing problem. So right now, the problem is that we have a rover on Mars, okay? But there's a communication delay of around like 14 minutes. The atmosphere is too thin for normal parachutes like that we use on Earth. And the temperatures on Mars can destroy the electronics. So how do we really approach this problem? So step one, we evaluate the entire system. So in chess, before we make a move, we always have to look at the entire board. We always have to look at threats. We have to look at our king safety, any counter attacks that we might have, or any attacks against us. So this is exactly how engineers and other STEM professionals think. This is called systems thinking because every variable affects the other variable. So before making any decision, engineers, like for the Mars example specifically, they're going to have to look for the terrain on Mars. They're going to have to look at fuel constraints. They might have to look at heat shield limitations. So, for example, let's say we want to make a heavier rover that has more equipment and more technology, but then that requires more fuel, and then more fuel requires larger parachutes because it's going to be heavier and you need larger parachutes to slow it down. And then that also requires stronger landing systems, so like propellers. So basically, what this teaches us is that every variable affects another variable, and one small change can often create a chain reaction. So before making any move, you have to think about the effect this move might have on something else. So step 2, anticipating future problems. So in chess, what we have to do is that we always have to think about, like, what if my plan doesn't work? What if my attack doesn't work and he counterattacks? You have to think about like the worst case scenario. And this is also how STEM professionals and engineers think. So they always have to think about equipment failures. They have to think about wind variations, such as like the atmosphere on Mars. It's different than the atmosphere on Earth. So they have to think about failures over there. They have to think about sensor malfunctions. So basically, they ask themselves, if this fails, what happens next? So the overall topic is called predictive modeling and simulation, and it's usually used in space missions where there are a lot of single point failures. Basically, failures like from really a single point can affect the entire system. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can just stop me and I'll explain if anything's not clear. So step 3 to solving the Mars challenge, we have to think about sacrifice and trade-offs. So in chess, sometimes what we do is that we sacrifice a piece in the short term, like we sacrifice material in the short term to achieve a better position or checkmate the king in the long term. So it might seem like stupid in the beginning because you're giving up a piece, but then eventually that gives you a better position and you might win the game entirely. So this teaches us about optimization in the STEM world. And it's basically about finding the least bad compromise, as it says over here. What can we compromise that will still keep us in a good position? So sometimes engineers have to sacrifice like weight, speed, equipment, or like safety margins, because usually in STEM you can't have everything. You always have to sacrifice something to make another thing better. So that's exactly like in chess. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece to eventually win the game. Step 4, precision under pressure. So while landing the Mars rover in Mars, you have to follow like a routine, kind of like a procedure in a specific sequence. So first the heat shield would separate, then the parachute would deploy, then the rockets would activate, then the sky crane would lower the rover, and then eventually the cables would detach and the rover would be on Mars. So what this teaches us is about algorithms and sequential logic. And it's basically how one incorrect step or like doing the steps in the wrong order can really destroy the mission. And it's very similar in chess, and we'll see later in endgames where the accuracy really matters, because one move can really completely destroy your entire game and you might lose the entire game. So let's move more into like specific moves and tactics, and how specific tactics in chess really connects the STEM in terms of thinking and how you approach different things. So let's think about the fork. A fork in chess is basically where you attack two different pieces or two or more different pieces at the same time. So let's imagine like a knight attacking a king and a rook. So that's basically attacking two different things, and you can't save both of them. So you have to like give up one depending on the situation. So this is really similar in STEM also. because the best engineering solutions usually solve multiple problems at once. So, like, let's say I'm creating a car and I have a battery floor. So when I redesign this battery floor, I'm trying to improve like the range of the car. I'm trying to improve the safety, the aerodynamics, and of course, I'm trying to lower my cost as much as possible. So basically, the way you think about it is like one design choice can solve like many problems simultaneously. So that's usually the best kind of solutions in STEM. And similarly in chess, it's like when you have a fork, you attack two different pieces and you can take advantage of that, of course. So move to the sacrifice. So like we discussed before, sometimes in chess we sacrifice a piece to gain a better advantage in the long term. It's similar in engineering. For example, let's take AI companies. AI is really popular right now. So in AI companies, they have to balance between accuracy of the AI model. They have to balance the speed, the energy consumption, and also the cost. So let's say I had a really accurate AI model, but that would require a lot of computing power. But if I choose to have like a faster model, it might be cheaper, but then it might be less reliable or accurate. So this like raises the question about like what should you have? Should you have maximum accuracy? Should you have maximum speed? Or should you have minimum cost? So usually you have to give up one thing to ensure that everything else is good. Then move three, thinking ahead. So like we discussed before, in chess we always have to think ahead. We call this calculation. So let's say I'm calculating 10 moves ahead. Like if my opponent does, for example, like knight to g4, what would I do to counter that? Or if I move like this and my opponent does this, how do I counteract that? How do I defend? So what this teaches us is about long-term planning. So engineers always have to think about the long term and they have to think about second order consequences or like consequences that we originally didn't intend or plan for, because it really avoids failures of the entire mission or the entire thing. So you can think about like creating a good system today that accounts for failures in the future. Uh, it ensures that it's a good system and it's reliable in the future too. So let's move on to endgame precision. In endgame, there are very few pieces on the board. Like there might be a king, a rook, and a pawn on each side. And basically, every move has to be really accurate. So, because one mistake in the endgame can cause the entire game to fail. So, similarly, in STEM, specifically in space operations, the complex systems can usually fail because of really small errors. So, for example, in the past, there was this NASA Mars orbiter, and there were like two teams working on it. So in US, we usually use a unit system called imperial units, and everywhere else in the world, we use something called metric units. So one team ended up using metric units like kg and meters, and the other team used the imperial units such as pounds and inches. So what happened was the computer malfunctioned when it was released in space, and it entered the Mars atmosphere at the wrong angle and at the wrong trajectory because the entire trajectory was completely failed. And what happened was that as soon as it entered the atmosphere, it completely failed, it broke apart, it kind of like exploded. So this basically tells us that like one mistake can really affect the entire system, and you always have to be chess, we always have to be accurate. So let's just move on to a challenge. So let's say you're designing a city. As you've probably seen in the other presentation, they're designing, you guys are designing a city, and you have to propose one strategy to reduce traffic congestion. What would you sacrifice, or like how would you plan your city? If anyone can answer, because we have these different constraints, right? When you're a city planner, you have a budget, you have to think about population, like in the future, how's population going to increase? You have to think about environmental concerns, and then you have to think about societal, like how society going to react to these changes. So can anyone propose like one strategy? How would you plan the city? What would you sacrifice? Yeah, you can go ahead.
I'm still thinking on the sacrifice part,
Yeah, sure.
but if I had to do this, what I would do is, as we have already, which is traffic congestion. So we need to also identify jobs related to it and see what other if whether there are other cities or countries who are already working on this problem, and can we copy their model and do it in our city or in our state. If it, then what are things that, and then out of that, we can like uh, choose what can be sacrificed.
Right. Yeah, of course, that's definitely right. You can always take inspiration from other countries, because sometimes other countries have better city planning. Or how this can relate to chess is that, like, let's say you can learn from other people's games, right? So you can always take inspiration from like how they're playing the game, and you can implement it in your own game. Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, you can take inspiration from others and implement it in yours. Does anyone else have an answer? Yeah, Lakshmi, you can go ahead.
Yes, so like we can make a law which restrict the people to own a private vehicle. So they can own a number of vehicle, like at least one, not more than that. And we can encourage people to like use a public transportation, and we can improve the public transportation in that way that people are encouraged to use that only, because we know the Singapore examples and other cities where they improve public transportation in that manner that people are like feeling good to use that, not forced by that. And after the 10 year, we can see the most people are using the public vehicle transportation, and the new problem may be not a problem, or we have that revenue we get from government, from the get from the car, which get reduced.
Sorry, can you say that last part again? You said something about the government, but you were just lagging. Can you just repeat that last part?
Yes, sure. So, like the problem, or not exactly a problem, but like government may not get that much revenue from that car, like because people are not using a car or not owning a private vehicle after the 10 years. So maybe the tax revenue get reduced, but it is good for people.
Yeah, of course. That's a really good solution. Public transportation is, of course, going to help. And what she did was that she analyzed the situation and she thought about the growing population. Like, if we have public transportation like buses, that can um, that can account for the growing population, because having many cars, like she said, like maybe limiting it down to one per family or one per household, it can basically account for the growing population, and it would decrease traffic congestion in the future. It also impacts like environmental concerns, because as you use public transportation, it emits less emissions. And then public would probably agree with this too, because they're getting their work done. And what she said was about tax revenue, which is basically about budget. So to implement all of this, to implement public transportation, it of course takes government spending. And that's basically what she decided to sacrifice. Not really sacrifice, but one thing that you had like an opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost was the budget and spending. So yeah, that's of course a good situation, good solution. If anyone else wants to participate, any different solutions? All right, I think everyone proposed their solutions. Let's move on to the conclusion. So basically, chess, it's not always only about like the game. It's not only about openings and tactics. It can also be like it's also valuable because it trains you to think when you're like under uncertainty. It teaches you basically how to think based on different situations. It teaches you to analyze entire systems, basically look at the broader picture. It teaches you to manage sacrifices, teaches you about sacrificing things in life. And of course, it teaches you about planning ahead or like thinking several moves ahead. And I think this is like really good life skills to have because it really affects your day-to-day life because it affects every decision you make. Like let's say I'm making a decision, I can always think about these different things before making that decision to ensure that I make the best situation, best position like that. That's it. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys learned something. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Arnav. So if anyone has any questions, they can ask Arnav. And now I'll just be asking everyone a few questions. So आप लोग एक एक करके अनम्यूट करके आंसर कर सकते हो. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. तो आप लोग सबका एज कितना होगा लाइक मोस्टली बता सकते हैं आप लोग. एक एक करके अपना एज बता सकते हैं आप लोग.
22.
22.
20.
20. Okay. और बाकी सब
20, please. Please.
ओके. कोई 20 से ऊपर या 18 से नीचे है?
Yes, please. 17, please.
ओके. और कोई?
Excuse me, Didi, I have a question, please.
हाँ.
May I know why this information is being taken, like why this information is being recorded? Is it part of any study?
Basically, we have a student named Akshara. So she is doing a project on STEM. So she will be doing a presentation with all of the organizations. So for her presentation, she wants some information. So that is why we are taking this.
Okay, thank you.
So can you all tell me what is like the highest level of education that everyone's completed or you are doing right now? High school, school. Sorry.
Miss, can I leave?
Yeah. Graduation.
Everyone,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Bye. And the rest of y'all?
Completed 11th, please.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So, anyone who is in 10th or who has done postgrad? Okay. So, आप लोग बता सकते हो कि आप लोग जैसे 1 to 5 में से 1 बीइंग नॉट इंटरेस्टेड एंड 5 बीइंग वेरी इंटरेस्टेड, आप लोग कितना इंटरेस्टेड हो स्टेम में? जस्ट अ नंबर, लाइक 1 बीइंग नॉट इंटरेस्टेड एंड 5 बीइंग वेरी इंटरेस्टेड. कोई बता सकता है? How interested are you all in STEM, which is science, technology, maths, engineering? It's fine if you all are not interested, you can tell me.
Interested, please.
Interested? Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, interested.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So the next question is, do you find STEM subjects difficult? You can answer this also from 1 to 5, 1 being very difficult and 5 being not that difficult.
Sometimes you think.
Sometimes. Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else? Anyone else would like to answer? Okay, so next is a yes or no question. So, did you have access to science labs or any STEM activities during school?
Yes, please.
Okay, you had.
No.
Anyone else?
No.
No?
No, please.
Okay,
No.
okay. So, did you all have science in school or did not have science in school?
We had, but we didn't have access to our lab.
Okay. So, next is while growing up, were you encouraged by a family or community to pursue STEM? Like, any of your family members did, were they like, you should go ahead and pursue STEM? Anything in science or technology?
No.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
okay.
Yes.
So, is anyone currently pursuing or want to pursue a STEM related career in the future? No one wants to pursue anything in STEM for now.
Like I am like I want to pursue.
Okay. And rest of y'all don't want to?
I'm
Actually,
I'm pursuing it, please.
You are pursuing right now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, this is like an open-ended question. If uh, like the ones who are not pursuing STEM, is there a main reason you are not, like you are not interested in it, or maybe your school did not have any STEM opportunities? So, will anyone want to answer? Anyone?
Maybe
Okay.
for now, not sure if we want to pursue. In case if in future it is required for career,
Okay. So the next question is do you all think that women face more obstacles than men when we want to enter or we want to advance in STEM fields?
I feel yes.
Yes. Um, okay. And others?
yes,
I heard.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next question is also an open ended question. So, do you agree with the statement that engineering, coding, and science are naturally better suited to men?
No, please.
No. Anyone else? So, from a scale to from a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you believe that better policies and institutional support could reduce the gender gap in STEM? Basically, if the government wants, if they come up with policies where women get more opportunities, how much do you think that the gender gap can reduce in STEM from um, from a scale of 1 to 5? Anyone wants to answer? Sorry, could not. Four?
Three, please. Three.
Three?
Because
Okay.
there is a lot of difficulty in joining the course itself.
Yes. True. I think someone said four also. Okay. So the next open-ended question is, have you ever been a victim to common societal norms, and how did you deal with it? Like, if someone wanted to maybe pursue STEM and they could not. Anyone wants to answer? Okay. So next question. So, do any of y'all have books other than NCRT or maybe those provided by the school? Any other books that on STEM that you any of y'all have, except these? No. Okay. How many of you have access to STEM related material? Like, it can be anything. It can be books. It can be the. I mean, we also sometimes have STEM related presentations. I think so. That is also one thing. But except these, anything? Okay. So, do you?
I
Sorry.
had, yes, please. I had access during my school.
Okay. Do you all know any scholarships that is given for STEM? Does anyone know any scholarships?
Please.
No. Um, is anyone doing any programming language in computers like Python, Java, anything? No. Okay. Um, Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions from any of the presentations that we did today? Okay, so if no one has any questions, then we can end the session today, and see you all in the next session. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.